Let's get into an update on the burn on America and the Hill Valley and the C-section, North Carolina, NC for the abbreviation. And Asheville is that burn for the ashes. And it was in the mountains and such. And this would be those hills and valleys when those flood waters coming and washing things out. So let's flip and flop some things that we've said in the past, because I went back and watched some clips of part 2, and it says when he goes in, it's Hill Valley, okay? And the Hill Valley can take us to that DC hill, and this area that we're going in North Carolina, and these things are stacking up onto each other as that spiritual into the carnal, and that burn on America is going to take place. But these are for those eyes and ears for the people who've been following and such. Otherwise, it just seems like crazy speak to people, okay? But as these things are playing out, we're getting trailers here, we're getting small scales here, and then we're going to be putting on the big scales, okay? So this is where we've seen the hurricane and the hurricane supposedly, and that can that she's drinking on the Miller time, and she put that there, and then the Milton came. So that's that Tropicana for that amp being the Dropican and the time machine, and that amp being blasted in the ceiling and such, and that's that kind of that glass ceiling falling down as well for that symbolism. So that's that part of part 2, and then we're being taken and showing these snips on small scales, blah blah blah, and then we're going to get it on the big scales, okay? So the C-section birth, that C-section, that upper balcony, the drive-through and drive-by scene, that is in the Back to the Future 2, and Trump is going to be that fry guy at McDonald's. So that's where that clown works, and we've seen the Joker, okay? So we see the car first, and then it turns the corner, and then it comes swooshing by, and then the bullets fly. Okay, those bullets are the cows, the oxmen that are going to go to slaughter or receive the slaughter. And then that porch scene and the 6 degrees of separation. Other porch scenes that mirror that, but one recently is Leave This World Behind, and that features Ethan Hawke, the E.T. Han, or the E.T. Jan. So depending what calendar we're speaking of, we might see the E.T.s supposedly in January, and this ties to the illegal aliens in one aspect. And then depending if you're using the Roman calendar by chance, the January would be 2 months later, so that would take you into the January, February, March, or whatever, okay? So that's for that March Madness. So all these things that are in our world are built on these times. So that's kind of like when everything started opening up, per se. Like it was like everything was locked in a box up until 2020, and then there was a time when the dreams came, the 3 nights of dreams, and then the next 6 months and such came, and then we're here today. But that's when all these just like stuff, whatever's keeping it contained, it opened. So the Hill Valley, that burn, going in these time tunnels and these mirrors, we're getting closer and closer. So, and then the FEMA, the dudes on the porch with the guns or whatever, greeting whoever. All right, we're just whatever. Okay, and then this would be kind of the North Carolina people, where you have the so-called militias, or this militia attitude where they don't want the government help and they're rushing off FEMA and those types of things. So that would be kind of that symbology on that as well. So either way, folks, the movies are made about the coming days. They're trying to just like portray and give you a glimpse of what's coming in a way. All right, and we got still the 47, the 48, and 49. Okay, so all these are kings stacked on top of each other, so he can take the people in. And they're being taken to that old world, that dino age. And it's kind of already, the crowning for that birth has already been placed, and the extras have already been given their lines, and they know their script. Sure, we're gonna do that. Our pastor's telling us. So the dead shall rise when it's time, when their lights go out and the flickering begins. But China was given control of the GPS in America, according to the news years back. So you may want to have directions printed off to wherever you're going to be going, or wherever you need to go, or whatever, because of Ethan Hawke and that like the Jan Solo time frame. And Jan Solo can maybe be a little sooner, because we see him taking and putting the carbon night and that Tesla fire when it gets wet in the night. Dark MAGA. Okay. So he's tying into the Dark MAGA, and his name is tied to Reeves, who's tied to Christopher Reeves, who's tied to Superman, who's tied to Krypton, Kryptonite, Crypto. Okay. And we'll end it here on the C-section birth, okay? Because we're going to get another C-section birth with the subs and the waters, or more hurricanes and more storms or whatever. So we're basically through the years, I've talked about the 22 and 23, and 2022 and 2023 has shown us some things, and now we're at that 22 and 23 of the 9/11. So this ties to your Revelation 22, and you got to the 26 in the alphabet, so you got to the 2026, and the 26 on 9/11. And if you go and take these years or whatever, or I have it written down. You take these years, the 47, 48, and 49. If you have the stop in the rain per se, and the armies rise from the abyss, and these types of things, you can see that going to 2026 and 2027 for the alphabet time frame, the A to Z, the Arizona, Southern California border pop, and then Texas border pop, all those things. But you see 2024 to 2028, and then 2032 for the 48, 49. You stack 2 years on top of those for the 2.5 year, and the 2.5 year can overlap to the next year. So you see 2030, 2031, 2034, and 2035. All right. So the 2030 take 2023 to 2030, and then the 35 takes you to the 9T, the 45, to the King Spirit that was born in 35. Okay. And then the King Spirit would be 100 then. So, and then the Jimmy Carter just marked the 100 days. And then the Gem is that Gemini, and the My is the MY for the double V or the double mountain, and then the 1-3 is the 3 times 1 is the 3, and then it's also the 4-2 for the 42 months. That connects us to the 2024 and the 42 months on the false prophet, stopping and giving the power over to the woman to reign in the beast, and the woman at the Lady Liberty uses the Lady Liberty to change the lights, in a manner of speaking. Mom comes in to clean the shop and so forth. But the My is the MI also for the Mission Impossible, for the spies, for the free versus bond. So the bond can be coming through the Persephone, the phone, and Siri, and those things. That could be like a spyware kind of thing that can be shown. And then you see Tesla, and that kind of stuff can be a spyware kind of thing, or as far as a dark night kind of thing. But we can see also where Tesla, like the Starlink, is good, and then the Cybertruck is bad, or the batteries in the cars are bad, or whatever kind of thing, where they need to come out with some new technology in the cars to where they don't need the battery exchange per se, because as the scooters sitting around town that y'all rent from or whatever, they never need charging. So they charge as they go, or they charge while they sit there or whatever, but either how it goes, but they never charge them. So there's technology out there where it's just a trick. They can harness energy from wherever. We're electric. We put off 9 volts all the time, so we can whatever. But either way, there's it's really just a matter of taking the periodic table and combining elements and energizing them in the right way to take us into new times. And as we go through new ages and new times is where we develop new elements, and then those elements that we create or develop or find or whatever create a whole new heaven and earth, and then we find more, and it just goes and goes. Okay, so the time tunnel that we're in, that I've basically been shown and tracking to and developing these things or whatever, is all based on the 22 and 23 going forward. So this is when the shit starts hitting the fan. This is where we send the crapture playing out this way, that way, and the other way. So that will go, not to get sidetracked on that, with the cash going and the crapture. But either way, got off on a little side trail. We'll end it here.